I got one loser. I could put more here, but I think it's going to take some time here. I got Colorado down as a loser. Okay? I got Coach Prime's Colorado. All right? I'll unpack this. Let's talk about what you lost into the portal. Okay? Alton McCaskill, who is an American all-freshman, right? He was the freshman of the year in the American Conference at Houston before got injured and then transferred to Colorado. Cormani McClain, who really helped put Prime's Colorado on the map when he chose to flip his commitment from Miami to go to Colorado. And he did it in a YouTube video on a channel that's very well followed, and then has the nerve on the way out to say, I didn't come here to chase clicks. All right, dog. We'll talk about that just a little bit later on. Dylan Edwards, we talked about going to Kansas State. Omarion Cooper, another outstanding defensive back, right? Skill player who you were depending on to do some nice things for you in a defense that's going to be basically brand new, right? You got Robert Livingston coming in to call it after Charles Kelly decided to go back home to Auburn. Those are all guys that are out, right? I think you can come back from that because skill players are a little bit easier to find, and they're certainly easier to find for Prime. It's still about what you got in your defensive interior and what you got on your offensive interior, right? Now, that's also a positive for them because they got Ryan Garcia on campus, but I'm not going to really trust any quarterback step on campus at Colorado right now, even if they did commit, because I just don't know, right? We got to see what Shedeur is going to do, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And then you're talking about adding an offensive lineman that you can use in Peyton Kirkland out of Texas. Like, that's a really great get for them. And I don't want to poo-poo that because if he's on the same offensive line as Jordan Seaton, you got a shot at keeping Shedeur upright this year in a way that you didn't last year. Got that dude's back. You got Shedeur Sanders' back broken. I wouldn't be able to let that go if I was a quarterback. Okay? That would be what my focus is on. I wouldn't care who I'm throwing the ball to. I wouldn't care who I'm handing the ball to. I would care about those 5 dudes. Do not let me break a vertebrae. A vertebrae getting broken, that's all bad. That's not good for anybody. That's not good for anybody. Okay? That's not good for your draft stock, not good for my draft stock. Then you're adding in the backfield Dallin Hayden, who I thought was an outstanding star at Ohio State. Really going to be a dude at Ohio State. And then they went and got James Peoples, and then they got Quinshon Judkins, and then Travion Henderson is him. It's a crowded backfield, right? Tony Alford decides to to go to Michigan, transfer to Michigan. And then you get Dallin Hayden making the shock move from me to Colorado. You need more than one tailback back there, and losing not just Dylan Edwards, but also Savion Wilkerson, who was a dude that came with them from Jackson State, one of the few. I choose to look at that and go, unless Dallin Hayden is your every down back, you're going to need somebody back there that can also help him. Now, again, skill player, you can get him, but losing Alton McCaskill, losing Dylan Edwards, losing Savion Wilkerson, you got some work to do if you're a Prime. The last thing about this that really shuts the door on them being a winner and really pushes them into being a loser for me is we're still talking about Colorado and what they do in the transfer portal and how they overhaul the roster. We talked about it last year because when he did it at Jackson State, it worked. It worked through the first quarter of the season last year. And then you could see what the problem is at Colorado. It ain't talent. They got talent. Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Adam Dallin Hayden. They got Jordan Seaton, a 5-star offensive tackle. They got talent. What they don't have is depth. You don't have guys you can rotate in. You got guys that got to play a lot of football. Travis Hunter can go both ways. Probably should continue to play both ways. But should he be playing more than 100 snaps? I don't know about that. I'm also looking at a dude that, while he did play more than 100 snaps, also got 8 up by Alec Ironmar, who's still a wide receiver at Stanford. And last time I checked, Stanford wasn't that much better than Colorado, and Travis Hunter was number 1 player in the 2022 class, and frankly could be the dude going number 1 in the 2025 draft. You can't get beat up by Alec Ironmar. That's not going to work, okay? Now, he knows that better than anybody else knows that. Prime knows that too. You got to add depth to these guys, and you got to add depth on the offensive line and the defensive line. So whatever it is that you got to do to go out there and get them, you go get them. Now, the way in which they're going to get them, shall we say, is unorthodox. We've got all sorts of conversations around what Prime is doing and not doing, right? Him choosing not to go on recruiting visits, that's really got under the skin of folks in the industry, both folks that cover the sport and folks that coach in the sport. I really don't care. I don't care. As long as you get who you're getting, it does not matter to me how you recruit them as long as you don't get caught breaking no rules, okay? And the rules there really aren't that many anymore just because of what we've been able to do with name, image, and likeness, transfer portal, and so forth, so on. Like tampering used to be a thing. You never hear about tampering anymore. Nobody cares about tampering anymore. Can you keep your roster, right? That's one. Two is you got the kids out there saying, call Shedeur if you would offensive transfer recruit, call Shiloh if you're a defensive transfer recruit. And then you got Shiloh putting down there, this ain't last chance you. That all might be true, but you ain't got to tell everybody that. You ain't got to broadcast that part. Like, I understand the policy at Colorado is to use Bucky, to use Deion Sanders Jr. as the mouthpiece for the program. Cool. With that, understand. Not everything y'all say needs to make it back to us. Okay? Because I looked at that and I said, I don't want the quarterback and the safety running the recruitment of other grown men. I want that to be done by the men managing the grown men. And perhaps it is, right? But not perhaps, it is. But that is not the message that you were sending, right? You're saying, I'm going to go back to publishing here when I'm trying to get books published. Send the query letters to the intern and not the literary agent. Nah, I don't do that. I'm a professional. I'm not going to talk to no interns. I'm not going to talk to no other authors about getting to my agent. That's not what it's going to be, right? That's one. The last one is, and this came out Tuesday, I don't need Shedeur Sanders going on social media to poo-poo a dude that went into the portal and had a bad time in Colorado. I don't need that. Don't nobody do that. That doesn't help anybody. There's no wins there. You know, that's actually a thing that we talk about quite honestly when we're doing my show rundown and when we do any other show. It's, okay, who are we talking to and why does this work for us? All right? Like, you want to be very careful about how it is that you are positioning the argument that you're making, because that's my thing. Build an argument. You know, this is not your daddy's couch. Bring me a thesis. Support it. Let's see if we can't find something worthwhile saying in there. And if I can't say something also insightful inside of that, then what? That's what Shedeur Sanders is doing. You're just dunking on a dude that we didn't know, that you said that you didn't know, only for us to say, what? You're dunking on a guy you telling me you don't need? Okay. Why you got to dunk on him? Why can't I think nice things about you, Shedeur? I need a guy that's probably going to get drafted in the first round next year, because quarterbacks are quarterbacks, and he is a dude. Don't know if he's number one overall pick, but he's got enough to get drafted in the first round right now, if he goes and has the kind of season that he had last year, this year. But what I need for him is to put on a charm offensive. Now, I say this, I'm also the guy that wanted to see Caleb Williams put on a charm offensive. It didn't matter because everybody sees Caleb Williams' talent and it's unassailable. So you're going to let that dude get away with a lot that you otherwise would not. But when it comes down to do right, or who am I going to pick as a nice guy, or who do I want to work with, Jaden Daniels is the guy everybody was talking about, because everybody loves Jaden, myself included. Don't like the way that he gets himself ragdoll, but we like him. You want to be likable whenever you can, right? It is not always the best thing for you to be the guy wearing the black hat. And that's the guy who loves to wear the black hat, right? That's not always what people need from me. And that's not always what I should be putting out into the world. The last point to raise on Colorado and why I think that they're sitting here in a loser is this playbook played out last year. You haven't changed it. I need you to change it. Okay? You got a schedule this year that is not sexy, but it is tough. You're opening with North Dakota State. There are no wins in that game. You know, if you beat North Dakota State, beat an FCS team. If you lose to North Dakota State, we don't care that it is a team that is a perennial national championship contender in the FCS. We care that a Big 12 team got beat by an FCS team. That's not going to be a good look for anybody, right? And then you're going into a Big 12 conference that does not necessarily have the star power that it has had in years past, but it could certainly beat the hell out of Colorado if you do not come ready to play. All these things, I'm sure Prime knows about. I'm sure his staff knows about. I'm sure the folks at Boulder know about. But this whole, hey, we going to put our hands up and it's everybody against us. I mean, that can work. I mean, you could try to go you against the world. But in my experience, the world gets some W's every now and then. If you like what you've seen, consider subscribing to the #1 college football show on YouTube, the Fox Sports app, or wherever you get your podcast.